Hi, I'm Scott Miller, CEO and founder of Circles USA. Welcome to Circles. You're beginning the planning process. This is the second stage of 4 stages. The first stage, the assessment phase, is where you've determined to bring Circles into your community. So congratulations on doing your due diligence and deciding that this is an approach that you want to use in your community. The second phase, planning, is focused on making sure that you have a strong platform. So we're not starting on anything mushy or inconsistent or something that's going to fall apart on your families down the road. This third stage, once we're done with planning, we're setting you up to be able to do a demonstration group. This will be a 12 to 18 month process of making sure that you understand how to use Circles with one group. During that process, if you are in an expansion partnership with us, we'll be working alongside with you to begin the expansion process as well, which is the 4th stage. The idea is to bring Circles into your community as a tool and integrate it in all the ways you can see to do that in order to help families get where they're going. So let's talk about this planning process. You're going to be going through probably the next 3 to 6 months working closely with us to make sure that everything is in place for all 3 steps. The first step is understanding your budget. What will you need for revenue and expenses to do this work? The second is going to be hiring staff. Whatever staff you have to hire, they'll need to be brought on board and then brought into our training programs and certified to be able to do Circles. The third stage is setting up all of your volunteer resource teams so that you have all 5 teams doing what they need to be doing before you bring in the families. So you have a planning book, a guide, you have a workbook, and you have us to help you move through the process. We've got lots of online tools to help you, platforms to make sure your communication in and out of this project is going well, and we have people that can answer all sorts of questions, as well as peers around the country who have done their planning already and can give you some tips as well. Have a great time. Keep close to your planning trainer from our end, and we look forward to setting this up just the way it needs to happen so you can have a great demonstration group. Thank you. We're going to be discussing the planning process today. There are 3 steps to planning Circles in your community. First is raising funds, second is hiring staff, and the third is developing the resource teams. Circles USA has the following resources to help you with this process. We have a planning guide, a planning workbook. We have planning sessions over the phone with your trainer, and we have planning templates that you can use for proposal writing and business plan development. We use a series of checklists for each of these steps. So let's just discuss the deliverables that each of these steps produces. Step 1, raising funds. You have to determine first what your budget's going to be. Once you understand your expenses and revenues, it's much easier to build out proposals and develop plans around that budget. So the very first thing is to just nail down the budget. We have templates you can use for budgeting. And once we have this done, your board should approve it, and it should be a 3-year budget so that you have a platform that's strong enough for people to come in and not worry about the program going away overnight. The responsibility of that is going to be the board. The planning team is responsible for creating an advisory team. These are your champions who you've recruited from different parts of the community who can help raise funds or bring other kinds of resources to bear on the program. The advisory team is responsible for putting together a 3-year fundraising plan so that the revenues are all mapped out how you intend to do this. Your planning team would be responsible for the mechanics for an individual donor giving setup on your website. We will help you with your website and this process. Your planning team will also have to be responsible for a thank you system, and the advisory team will be reporting to the board of directors for the fiscal agent of Circles. So all of this structure we will be talking about and working you through, and there's information in the planning guide on our suggestions about that process. Step 2, hiring staff. It's important to know that Circles is a community organizing project. So the people you want to hire need to be organizers. They need to be the type of people that can recruit and support and develop volunteers to do the work. All the work's going to be done by the resource teams. Your staff are really just coaching and supporting and guiding and encouraging the leadership of those teams to get the work done. The staff are not to be doing case management work. They're not to be doing the jobs of these resource teams. They are really in the business of leadership development. So it's important to look carefully at the job descriptions in the planning guide and to understand the competencies that you're trying to recruit. While it might be tempting to get a social worker, for example, it would be better to hire someone who had community organizing and or volunteer development background. You can always find people to partner with you to provide the case management that people might need in between weekly meetings. The staff will have to attend our 3-day Circles staff training program, and we will enroll the key people into the online supports that Circles USA has to offer. You, of course, will have to make sure that people are on someone's payroll, typically your fiscal agent's payroll. That's all worked out, that they have access to computer, phones, internet, and they're able to print materials. We will assign a staff from our group, our trainer from our group, to your staff once this has been done. Step 3, the resource teams. The planning team is responsible for identifying leaders for each of the teams and to give them assignments. You'll find in the workbook and in the planning guide detailed descriptions of these teams, job descriptions that can be just printed off and given to people. And we will also, you will also find videos on each of the 5 teams explaining the purpose of them. The planning team's job is to work with the staff to train these leaders for each of the resource team members so that each of the resource teams has someone who is getting a lot of support to make sure that his or her team is doing the job. The team leaders are responsible to work with you to recruit members for these teams and to provide some training to them. So let's just review the deliverables for this demonstration readiness. Number 1, your assessment. The circle leaders are screened and they're ready for being involved with Circles. You'll find in the staff training manuals and the hands-on training all the information that you need to be able to assess who's going to be able to succeed with Circles. The data system, you should have someone who's responsible for that, has been trained by us, and has begun to enter in initial data so they know how that process works. This is really important. Every circle leader needs to be brought into the data system before you begin, so you have baseline data that's accurate, and then you'll be inputting data after the class, the first 12 weeks, and then every 6 months thereafter. This information needs to be timely and accurate in order for you to get the results to put into reports and share with your funders. Your communication, both external and internal, it needs to be regular and effective, and it needs to be thought through before you begin your programming. You want to know how we're going to communicate with everybody. We have templates and we have platforms that you can utilize, so you'll be working with our planning team about that. The heart and soul of Circles are the weekly meetings, so your facilitators need to be in place and feel competent about what they're about to do, which is to take a group of 15 folks and their families through a 12-week process and then 18 months worth of support meetings minimum. We are in the process of building out some videos to help support those weekly meetings. We do have videos on job readiness, and we are building out other program arcs that you can utilize, but the Circle Leader Training Manual is very effective, and your facilitators need to be people who can move through a process by respecting where people are at, solving some of the concrete problems that might be distracting them if it's possible, and otherwise just moving people through those 12 classes to get plans. The end result of those weekly meetings will be plans that help people become economically stable. This is how they think they're going to get where they're going to go. So the space needs to be your ally, not your enemy. It's got to be convenient, functional. It's got to be some place you want to come to. The parking should be easy. It just ought to be a nice place that people want to keep coming back to. The research shows that if people come back to meetings, they will progress. They'll get better outcomes. So it's very important that you've picked the right spot and you've got consistent meals, childcare, and children programming in place. Again, our materials will walk you through all of that.